Hello guys, welcome to another session. In this session, we are going to look into iteration and looping concept in Python. So let's jump into the discussion what we are going to cover in this session. So far we have gone through all these topics. We have started with the Python overview and where we have seen the characteristic of Python, and then we have seen the Python environment setup. Then we have also set up a spider. After that, we have written our first program. Then we have seen that how to execute our program. After that, we have seen the core elements of any programming languages. We have seen all these things where we have covered the data types, collection types, where we have seen dictionary, list, set, tuples, arithmetic operators, all these things. And then we have seen the flow control where we have covered all these topic: comparison operators, logical operators, if statement families, if expressions, all these things we have covered in our last session. Now we moving into another topic, that is iteration and loop, one of the important topic of Python. So if you grasp this knowledge of iteration and looping concept along with flow control, that means you have completed 70% of Python, because most of the logic and most of the programming language is based upon these two concepts. It is very much important. If you understand looping concept along with flow control, that means you have understand almost any programming language. So let's look into the topics. What are the topics we are going to cover? So we are going to look into that, what it is, what is loops is. Then we will look into how many types of loop we are going to see in Python. Then we will look into break statement. This is one of the very important concept. Then we will look into continue loop statement. After that, we will look into for loop with else block. And we will do all this thing with the exercises so that you will be very comfortable at the time of using it. So what is loop? So loop is nothing but suppose if you want to execute a block of code with a number of time. So how do you can achieve it? So this can be achieved with the help of looping concept. So every programming language offers a concept of looping. Same with Python. Python also offers the same thing. So let's look into that, how many types of loops we have in Python. So basically in Python we are having while loop and the for loop. So we will look into while loop. What is the syntax? You have to remember the syntax whenever you are writing any looping thing using while loop, then you have to remember the syntax. Syntax is nothing but a way how do you write or how do you use the loops within Python. So let's look into that. What is the syntax it has? So you have to remember that the syntax is the while and the condition. We have to use a keyword called while, and then afterwards this loop will execute till the time this condition is true. And once it will be false, then it will exit from the loop. We will use it once we will move into the spider, we will use it. So let's look into that, how do we can use loops, while loop. Let's jump into the spider and we will write a program so that you can easily understand it. So we are into a Python spider editor. This is an Anaconda's spider editor we have been using from very long. Now this is our 9th example we are doing it. So let's write it now. The simplest program we will write in Python is the write a program which will print 1 to 10. This is the simplest program. We are going to see the how we can use loops. So for that we need to have a variable called count. We will initialize with 0, and then we will write something called a starting. We will write something, that means it is we are telling that we are going to start. And here if you remember the syntax, if you go there you will find the syntax. What is the syntax? The syntax is while keyword and then afterward condition. So what is the program we are going to write? Now you start applying the thought. Okay, while I have written a keyword, whenever you will get a keyword, then it will be highlighted as a blue. So you should also remember that this is going to be the keyword. and keyword you can't use for variable. So now we are going to count is less than 10 till the time my code will execute. So here we are telling that now print count. Okay, what it is printing, it will print the value, and then here we will pass another string, and at the end equal to here, and then afterwards we will tell that count plus equal to 1. So remember this, what it is doing, we are telling that it is same equivalent, like this syntax is equivalent like count equal to count plus 1. That means in the very early stage it will be initialize 0 and then it will iterating. So this statement and this below statement is same statement, but it is a shorter version, so we will use it. So if you are using it like this, that means we are telling that you should do like count equal to count plus 1. So we will first use this one and then we will use this one. So now it is being done. Then we will come out from the loop and we will print here and then print done. Now here you can write done. So now we will execute it. So let's look into the output. What is the output it is going to print? So here you will find that it has printed from 0 to 9. Why? Because we have given a condition that it will execute till whenever it is less than 9, until that time it will print the values over here. So that's what we are telling. Now we have seen that it is doing the same operation. Now here I can remove it and I will comment this one. So see here, the beauty of this code is that it is very shorter and it will do the same effect. So if you will run it now, then it will print the same thing whatever it has printed. So remember that this syntax, if you are getting over here count plus equal to 1, that means it is count equal to count plus 1. So this is what while loop is. So you must be understanding now how to use while loop, and going further you should remember the syntax, what is the syntax and how we are using it. So when we are going to write long program, on that time it is very handy. So remember the syntax. Now moving further, we will look into other loop, that is called for loop. For loop is the same thing it is doing, but it has different syntax. So what is the syntax? See here, it has a keyword called for, and then the variable name we can keep it, and here we are using a method called range, and from where to where we have to print, and then what are the thing which you want to perform within the loop, you should write within that. So let's look into example so that you feel comfortable with that. So let's jump into the spider. So now we have seen while loop. Now we will going to use for loop. This is going to be for loop example. So let's look into the example. What example we are going to write? We are going to write the same program. So whatever we have written over here, we will write the same thing. But see here, in for loop it is going to be little different. In for loop we will write for I. We are going to define a variable, and in and range. Range is a function, and inbuilt function here we are telling that you should print from 0 to 10. Now we are going to print the value I. So see here, I comma, we will keep some space, and then here end equal to, at the end we are also printing this, and then later point of time we are coming out from the loop, print, and then here at last we will print done. The same program, whatever the program which we have written over here with the use of while we are using a for loop. So run it. See here the same output you will get, but this time we are using for loop. So you should remember the for loop syntax: the keyword for, then a variable name, and then a function range when it is a numerical. There is other variation of for loop we will discuss when we will use the actual program. For a time being, I want that you should remember this one. Now there is another example which I wanted to show you. For example, if you take the same example and suppose that you want to perform two step. Right now it is performing one step, 0, after 0 it print 1, then 2, then 3, but I want that it should jump to two steps, 0, 2, 4, 6, something like that. So how do you do that? Here you need to specify another parameter of this function 2. Now if you will run it, then you will find here, then it is printing the two steps. That means it is hopping from not only single step but hopping two steps. So here 0, then 2, then 4, then 6, then 8. So this is what you can use it like this. Now let's look into what is the another topic. So we have seen here, we have seen while loop, for loop. Now moving further, now we will look into a break statement example. How to use it, we will look into that. So when to use break statement: whenever you want to exit from a loop at certain condition, on that time we will use break statement. So let's understand with an example. A simple example I will show you so that you will feel comfortable. So here we will look into the example of break statements. So let's learn with an example over here. So here what we will do, we will write a program that suppose that, so let's understand with the previous example. Suppose that if we have a loop which is printing 0 to 10, but I want that this loop will break if I provide any input. For example, if I want that I should break the loop after printing 6. So how to do that? So we will take a number input that after this number it should break. So here I will take an input from user, and here I will pass the number, enter the number to break loop. So after that I want that my loop should break. And so what we have to do the changes within that, we need to write over here that if I equal to the number which you have user will input equals, then it will break. If this condition is not meeting, then what will happen, that the loop will continue. So let's run this. So if you run it, it will ask for the number. So here you can pass the number, for example 7, so that it will print till 7. It will print till 6. So our requirement is that the loop should print till 6. So we have given 7, and it is checking this condition that if I equal to num, so that means we have given what, number 7. So when it is going inside that, and when it is finding number 7, on that time it breaks it. So till 6 it has printed it, but the moment it is going to the number 7, then it is finding that now this condition is meeting, so let's break the loop. So sometime in certain program where we need to use this break statement, so it is very useful in certain scenarios. So remember that how to break a loop with a break statement. So this is the syntax, you should remember that. So this is just a dummy example, but it is going to be very useful when we are writing an actual program further. Now we have understand this. Now let's look into the other topic. What is the other topic? Now we will look into the continue loop statement. So this is also very useful. Now we have seen that break statement. Sometime in certain scenario we have to check that if certain condition is meeting, till the time we will continue the loop. In certain scenario what is happening, that we are checking the condition if that condition is meeting, and till the time condition is meeting the loop will continue. If the condition is not meeting, then loop will exit. So let's understand with an example. So let's jump into the spider editor. So here we are going to use the continue statement, so that we will use the same example but with little twist. This time we are going to check the even number from 1 to 10. So let's write a program for that. So to do that we will write for, then the variable name, and from range. Here you need to remember that in keyword and then range. So we want to find the even number from 0 to 10, and then afterwards we need to print the value. So we are going to print I, and then we need to format it little bit, and equal to I, and then here we will use the modulus operator to find whether it is even or not, and we will check that if it is equal to 1, if it is remainder is 1, then it will continue. So see here we have used continue statement. If this statement is true, and then on that time it will continue. So we will print the output over here. So we need to write print, that means it's an even number, and then we will come out of here and write print done. So here, so now we will run it. So let's run it and look into that. What is the output it is giving? So see here, this ran till 10 and it has checked that whether the number is even number. So it is, see here, it is giving the correct output. 2 is an even number, 4 is an even number, 6 is an even number, 8 is an even number. And at the last of the loop it is printing done. So see here, the moment it is finding the even number, that means it is continuing. It is moving further. So this is one of the example of continue. You should remember it, how to use it. Now let's jump into the another topic. What topic we have? We will look into for with else, for loop with else. So in Python there is a else block available with for loop. So we will look into that, and we will do one example with that. So let's jump into the spider and let's do an example. So here we are going to write a program. So we are going to take this example, the same example, and we will try to understand the else block of for loop. So how to do that? We will paste it, and here we will provide a else block. So let's write it. So what it will do, it will either whatever the number which we will pass over here, it will print till that number. It will check that, for example, we are looping it from 0 to 10. Suppose if we have passed 11, and the loop will run all the conditions till 11, that means it is successful. We can write that all condition ran successfully. So that means it doesn't break. But what will happen, that if we will print, suppose if we have given an input 6, so that means it haven't run all the conditions and it will break in between. So what it will print? It will print from 0 to, suppose we have enter 7, so it will print 0 to 6, and it will break. Then it will not fall into this condition. But if we provide value 11, So what will happen that it will execute entirely and at last it will print this condition. So let's look into by example. First we will break the loop and then we will understand that. So here we will provide a number 7, run it. So it break it. It haven't gone into this condition. So now we will try with the other example, run it, and this time we will provide 11. So run it. So here you will find that all the loop has completed, all the thing it has printed, and at last it print that all condition ran successfully. So it has executed else block. In certain scenario it is really important. So you should remember that we have an option of else block with for. Generally it is not it is a Pythonic way of writing loop which has else block. In most of the programming language it else block is not coming with for loop, but with Python it is really good. So else block is coming with for loop. So remember that. So this is what I wanted to show you in this session. See you in the next session. Bye bye.